Welcome my hydrated hosts and slick comrades. Today we kick off a new series, How to Whatever, Fucking I Don't Know. It's about some goddamn Warframes, and today we're covering Vauban. Or Vauban Prime, they're both the same. I just happen to have the primed cunt of this guy, which in my opinion is more aesthetically appealing. The non-primed version looks like a fucking train, but who am I kidding? Even the primed looks like a train. So let's dig down deep and break this guy up into parts you little boys and girls can understand. I'll start with his passive because I'll be damned it's not half bad. Vauban deals 25% more damage to incapacitated enemies, whether they've been stunned, or are captured in his bastille. He just does more damage, which pretty much makes him a monster at crowd clearing, and that's just his passive, considering how most of his abilities are pretty much just incapacitating powers towards the enemies. I'd say this synergizes quite nicely. As an added bonus and hidden passive, all of Vauban's abilities are throwables, meaning that they can be used alongside almost any action in the game, and can be used while reloading a weapon without cancelling the reload. Quite handy in some tight situations. Tesla. His first ability, Tesla's damage scales off of strength for initial damage on contact. This ability deals blast and electricity, so it's pretty pointless against most higher level enemies. I can see this being kind of effective if you spam it all around on a low level defense, but other than that, not really. Tesla can also be charged. This will double its damage, but more importantly it will bring the status chance up from 10% to 100%, giving you a cheap and reliable multi-enemy stun through the guaranteed electrical proc. Mine Layer. This ability scales with strength as well, however I will argue this one has some actual use. Bounce is the ultimate troll mine. The fucking corpus stole it from us when Fortuna released, but that's beside the point. This ability is not only effective for confusing the fuck out of your enemies, but also effective for keeping them away from your target. It costs low energy and it can be cast infinitely. To my best knowledge, I spent about 20 solid minutes casting this shit in the simulacrum, and they just kept fucking coming. This ability deals some damage, but not enough to be noticeable in real world scenarios, such as high-level defense missions. The one actual use case that Bounce does have is in interception, where you can plop one down on the consoles so that the enemy will be bounced away and interrupted when trying to capture a node, eliminating the walk away for 5 seconds and shit hit the fan scenario. Trip Laser. Well, this ability does literally exactly what you fucking think it does, and as well as Bounce Grenade, this can be cast infinitely, or pretty damn near close. You'll run out of energy before you hit the cap, if there even is one, and as for this ability, it deals no damage. It only trips enemies, which can be handy against has an enemy armor debuff, 30 to 40% to be precise. This can come in handy to stun large groups of enemies if needed. However, the stun radius is rather small. Shred is the core component of the niche power strength Vauban build. This is because at 250% power strength it will completely remove armor. If you have an AoE disarm on the team, this also synergizes very well with Vortex. And finally, last of the Mine Layer kit, Concuss. This ability deafens enemies, which is just a fancy way of saying it stuns them.
I've fallen, and I can't get up!
It has a range of 6 meters base, which can be modded to be increased. I'm not sure if this ability opens enemies up to finishers. I could never get a finisher on an affected enemy, but maybe I'm just retarded. Before we move on to the actual good ability, I mean, the ones I use the most, I just want to give you a little mini lesson on how to use his Mine Layer kit. You tap the 2 button to cycle through, and then hold it to actually cast one on the ground. Same principle goes for consoles, just don't know the fucking buttons. Bastille. This ability does no damage, however the wiki says it does. The damage it does you will literally not be able to fucking notice. This ability is effectively a limited stasis. It suspends enemies up into the air, but only 12 of them. Why it's not unlimited? I have no fucking clue. Ask Steve. As an added bonus, the number of enemies suspended is however affected by power strength. This is where Vauban's passive comes in really handy, because as you increase in enemy level, you'll be able to take down these enemies easier. Number 1, because they're incapacitated, and number 2, because they're sitting fucking still, so that headshots are a walk in the park. So that makes this ability really great for defensive missions. Oh, and did I mention you can cast multiple of these? That's the glory of Vauban. Not only can you suspend enemies into one Bastille, but you can happily throw them all around the map for mass stun lock if you don't have the range. And now onward to his final ability, Vortex, which is arguably the best in his entire kit and the de facto CC ability in any mission that involves chokes or infested. Vauban throws down a literal black hole that sucks enemies into it, an infinite amount of enemies actually. Depending on your range depends on how far away they get sucked in from. When enemies are trapped in this ball of hell, they're susceptible to 2 times the damage, which honestly may not seem like a lot, but it really is quite a good chunk of damage. Enemies caught in Vortex is additionally vulnerable to finishers, and it seems finishers done on a Vortex affected enemy affects all the other enemies in the clump, resulting in massive finisher multi-kills. Then pairing that with his passive ability, you've got yourself a mean combo for DPS, which is probably why Rayhundelius likes Vauban so much. With all of his abilities nicely summed up, I'll give you my build here. My arcanes really don't matter that much, you can use whatever you like. However, it is worth noting that arcanes that proc off of headshots are very good on Vauban, purely on the virtue of all enemies neatly presenting their heads for the picking while suspended in Bastille. But I decided to go with a large energy pool and duration, comboed with range, then a little bit of strength to increase the damage multipliers and for more damage on his abilities. Also I threw in vitality because I don't like getting one tapped by some level 50 enemies. Keep in mind, my build is just a suggestion, and by no means is this the perfect build out there, but I do recommend running this, because I found it to be quite useful in the field. As a final note, Vauban does need a proper rework. People will say that a couple months ago he did just get reworked, but come on, let's be fucking real, that's no damn rework. And with that being said, get lost kiddos.
Thank you.